Hello everyone, my name is Roger Buskill and I'll be your instructor this semester in the Instructional Technology class, LEAD 575. So here we are at the announcements page, the opening page when we go to our Blackboard site. But I did want to point out a couple of things to you from this first announcement. One of the things that I'm a really proponent of is how to convey information electronically. The worst thing you can do is read text. So I'm not going to read this text. I am going to show you a graphic and talk about the graphic. In other words, I'm going to talk about our textbooks and the options that you have. You can purchase either one of these textbooks right here. This is the most current, the second edition. Either one of these textbooks, the E-Learning and Science of Instruction, this is the most current. But any of these are okay. So you do need to have the two textbooks though. So that's your first indication that this course is going to be a little bit different. So I want to talk next about the schedule because this is an 8-week class. What I do when I design a course, I'll design it as a full 16-week semester. With this particular class, that worked out to about 12 different lessons. And you'll see here is the schedule itself put together in an 8-week format. So what you'll find this first week, we're going to ease into things a little bit. So you're only doing lesson 1 in this first week. The rest of the weeks, we're going to be doing 2 sessions per week. In other words, the second week, we're going to be doing lesson 2 and 3. And there'll be reading to do and activities and assignments to do for that second week, but in lessons 2 and 3. The rest of the semester is laid out the same way. The third week, we'll do lessons 4 and 5, and so forth to the end of the semester. So that's how I've laid the semester out so far. One thing about the assignment due dates. All sessions are starting on a Monday. Like I said I wasn't going to read the text, but it looks like I am. But they're due on or before the following Sunday. So for example, on week 4, which starts on November 1st, all the assignments from lessons 6 and 7 are due on 11/7. So as you can see, you're going to be quite busy this semester because we certainly don't want to shirk on the criteria of this class. And one thing about this class, we're going to be doing a lot of playing. You're going to be playing with some software, and that'll be evident as I start going through some of these sessions. So let's get started with that. Let's take a look at the sessions themselves. So here I've got the sessions laid out for the, actually I've got 12 sessions laid out. So this first session, actually what I requested in the announcements that you take a look at these pre-work activities. You're going to have to do these anyway the first week, or you can go ahead and get started on them. But we're going to be using a screen capturing tool called Screencast-O-Matic. It's an activity capturing tool. I happen to be capturing the screen activity with this demonstration with a program called Camtasia. Of course, it's a little expensive. It's a couple $100 for the education version. However, this is a freeware program that you can capture the activity, and you'll be needing to do that right away. And there are some tutorials for Screencast-O-Matic right here. So I suggest that you take a look at those, because you're going to be using Screencast-O-Matic quite a bit, or your preferred activity capturing software. We're going to be using a software called Powtoon. That's the link for it. It's a free, you can sign up for it for free, and I think you can do like a 2-minute demonstration of Powtoon. We're going to be using a technology that's been around for a long time, but actually it's been a part of Blackboard now for a couple of years, and it's called VoiceThread. This is a quick animation that I put together that shows you how to do a 3D animation in PowerPoint. This is a pretty cool YouTube video. It's quite old, but it's the After Death by PowerPoint. You need to take a look at that if you haven't done it yet. It's hilarious, and he violates every single multimedia principle that we are going to study. But it is hilarious. So if you see yourself doing that, and I saw myself doing some of these things years and years ago, that's what we're going to try to prevent. So take a look at that video. So this is just the pre-work activities. However, you'll need to do those if you're starting in week 1. So let's go back to the sessions again and look at session 1. So they're all laid out the same way. There's going to be a session overview. There'll be some websites to go to, and then it starts off right away explaining some of the work that we're going to be doing out of each one of the textbooks. The very first one is the Better Than Bullet Points. This is simply a site that you can go to download some supplemental files. And then we're going to study Bloom's technology a little bit, and how to write objectives. You're going to have to write some objectives for a course that you'll be putting, or a training that you'll be putting together. And then e-learning, science of instruction. Chapter 1, give you a little bit of information there. And then homework. So as you can see, what you'll see is, I'm not going to go through all of the sessions, but every one of them have a session overview, an explanation of your readings from each one of the textbooks, and then your homework. So you'll notice that was for session 1. And that's all we're going to be doing that first week. So if we go back to the scheduled due dates, you'll see that we're only doing session 1 for this week. So that gives you, that allows you some time to do some of the playing with that software from the pre-activities and reading about the first chapters or so from the textbooks. That'll give us a good solid foundation of what we're going to be doing the rest of the semester. You notice here there's a personal learning journal that you'll be using. What you'll be doing there is, actually, let's go to the assignments. So you do not have to upload anything here. That's just the placeholder for the journal, but you will have to create your journal. So what you will do there is you're just simply going to create a journal entry for that week and tell me what you learned. You use a different part of your brain when you explain to someone what you've learned. You could read and study and play and do all this, but until you explain it to someone, that's when you can really understand it. It's part of the reflective part of learning. And you should remember that through the Kolb learning style. You remember that? So you'll reflect on what you've learned and write it out in the journal. You're going to have some evaluations, 3 different evaluations to do this semester. The first one is over the first couple of chapters of the e-learning and science of instruction book. And then you're going to have some discussion board questions to answer. And then these are the assignments. You'll do a little introductory video. You're going to take a LinkedIn learning assignment. You're going to get what's called a badge by taking this training. That we've really been stressing that in all of our classes, and this is the one that I've chosen for this class. It is free to you. You have to do a LinkedIn authentication request and all of that good stuff. So the course you will be completing is using neuroscience for a more effective learning and development. And we are using neuroscience in this course. In other words, we're going to be studying how the brain actually takes in and processes information, and how memory works, and how you create, the way you create your PowerPoints and your videos is a direct reflection on how the brain works the most effectively. And that's kind of the gist of this course. So this is a nice addition to our learning. So then there's some training interventions as assignments, and then the Hallmark assessment. It's that task itself. We'll be putting together a little meme, if you will. It's simply a graphic that you add text to that changes the meaning of the graphic. Some of them I'm sure you've seen on the internet that are pretty cute. So the Hallmark assessment is a HAT assignment that you have previously conducted, and you create a training video or online instruction with it. Lots of supports though. Here's our course videos. So for every assignment, there's a course video. There's an instructional video. This is a video that explains how to set up your personal learning journal. This is a video on a Powtoon demonstration. You're going to be using PowerPoint, and you're going to be bringing graphics into PowerPoint. A pet peeve of mine is to have that graphic skewed. Well, this is a way of avoiding that, how to crop and resize a picture using PowerPoint. In other words, you use the corner sizing handles. There's some information on using the appear animation for signaling. I know we haven't got into any of that yet, but this is one of the really basic things you'll need to understand how to do. And then, of course, I go through each one of the chapters, the e-learning and science and instruction, and then the cognitive theory explained, Better Than Bullet Points, Chapter 1, e-learning and science of instruction, Chapter 2, and so forth. You're going to be creating questions within PowerPoint. There's a video for that. Navigating with PowerPoint, how to set up a menu system in PowerPoint. There's a video for that. More information on the signaling principle, how to use master slides. You're going to be putting together a quick quiz, and there's a multiple choice template for that. And then we start all of the multimedia principles, the Mayer's multimedia principle itself, the contiguity principle, modality principle, coherence principle, personalization principle, redundancy, and so forth. And then this last one is Gar Reynolds. He has a book, Presentation Zen. That's one of the suggested text, actually, when you read the syllabus. But it reviews his top 10 slide tips. He never does profess being using the research multi-principles, but they certainly fall in line. So as you can see, I've got quite a bit of instructional videos on how to use some of the software and such, and explanation lecture videos on what we'll be studying this semester. There are a few course documents, more explanation of the multimedia principles. Here's a Pecha-Kucha example. You're going to be putting it together as an assignment. That's a fun assignment. It's basically using, the classic Pecha-Kucha is 20 slides, 20 seconds per slide, and it's very exact on that timing. I think our particular assignment is 10 slides, 10 seconds per slide. It forces you to use clarity and brevity in your PowerPoint. And then there's some other various templates and such for some of the activities. This is one on Slidomet. There's actually a discussion board entry for that. So the rest of these are simply support files. We've come to realize something called learning styles. It's been professed for years and years and years. It's its own industry now. And there is some valid things that we can learn from that, but using it as the basis for actual teaching, it's not that great. The evidence just does not support that, and so I've got some information there. So it kind of flies against even what we're doing in our program. But basically, as far as the research is concerned, there's no appreciable difference in trying to teach to different learning styles. And you'll see that as we go through these multimedia principles, because it's impossible not to use your auditory and your visual, as a matter of fact, all of your senses when you learn. Many times we need to remove some of those senses that are distractors while we're learning. But we cover all of that in this training. So that's just about it in a nutshell. We will be using FolioTech. I've used FolioTech before for your HAT assignments, and that'll be nothing different in our case. This is the link on VoiceThread. I think I've got a VoiceThread there right now. It's a very simple, and it'll be explained in one of the lessons. And then these are your discussion boards. So I've got a Q&A discussion board. Whenever you complete your Powtoon, you put the link in this discussion board. And then discussion boards for Training Intervention 2. So this is where you'll actually upload Training Intervention 2 to this discussion board. And then the rest of these are classic discussion boards. Here's the information about how to input to the discussion boards right here. Your discussion board entry, starting with the valid research, accounts for 2 points. You must reply to at least one other student's post, and that is 1 point. And then this is the personal learning journal that I talked about, and it is private. So I've got it. There's a video on how to create your personal journal, and that's the first assignment that you'll need to do. That at the end of that first week is create your personal journal learning entry, and tell me what you learned that week. So that's everything that I'd like to mention right now. Like I say, we are in an 8-week semester. It's going to be a very active 8 weeks. As you can see, we're going to be covering a lot of stuff, and it's all very important, especially when we get into studying the multimedia principles themselves. I have to read the book every semester just to refresh my memory. There's a lot to this stuff. I've tried to have some instructional videos on the important parts that kind of clarify that. But that's really the gist of the course. If you understand these multimedia principles, which really, when you look at these, they're just common sense, but they're actually research-based and proven to be true. So that's all for now. Go ahead and get started as soon as you can, especially on those pre-activities if you like, just to get a heads up, because as you can see, it's going to be a very busy semester.